Okay. Hey, welcome. You look awesome. You're welcome. Okay, so again, I'm gonna continue to let them doodle and dawdle over here and figure things out. My name is Gage, and this is Tatiana. That's Jokes over there, you know, vigorously working to do technical stuff. That's what he does. That's Sin,
Hello.
just like it sounds.
Yep.
I'll let him explain that. And that is Shay the Red of Red Valkyrie. On screen we had, you can kind of see in the dark, can you get my government off the screen? Got my whole government name on the screen. Nah, it's fine. We have Substantial, who is an awesome musician. Usually is performing here at MAGFest, but you all know how things have been. So his performance was canceled, but he's hanging out with us here today, virtually. And that's part of why we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, because we just want to make sure that you guys can hear him. Can we hear you, Stan?
Yep, I hear y'all.
There it is. I like it. You sound better than I do, and I'm here, bro.
Oh, he does.
He sounds really good.
Yeah.
That's because he's coming through HDMI, and I'm coming through a regular mic. Okay. So myself, Jokes, Sin, we have a media company called Loading Snacks. We do podcasts and streams regularly, usually Tuesday nights, where we just talk about things that, you know, are going on in pop culture, news, and what we like, what we don't like. We spend a lot of time at conventions like these, on the floor, talking to people, hanging out with artists who maybe people don't really know, and kind of using our platform to help other people reach more people. It's kind of what we enjoy the most. We are lovers of all things comics and video games and anime, wrestling, Gundam, Power Rangers, Pokemon. Did I miss anything?
I think you got the name.
Beast Wars. Yeah.
Beast Wars.
Yes.
No.
No,
We don't love
just-
Beast Wars.
just him.
Just him. And so in our time, we've been doing this for a number of years, and in our time going to conventions, we have found that one of the things that we love about being at conventions is just how open they tend to be. But we have also found that many times there are people at conventions who are only comfortable when they're at a convention amongst their people. Is that, yes?
That's fair.
Yeah? So what we do is when we go to conventions, we do a panel like this. We invite other people besides ourselves to participate in the panel so that we get some different perspective from different people and what it's been like for them to grow up, to get comfortable, whether they are or are not comfortable being a geek. And so what I'd like to start by doing, and this is, we like crowd participation, but we don't force anything. I want to find out what we think a geek actually is. Like, how do we define or quantify a geek? And Shay, I'm gonna start with you. What is a geek? She's having a good time. She's so excited to be on the panel.
They just decided that I wasn't in frame. So.
Oh, well, get in the frame.
Yes.
Get in the frame.
I'm in the frame. Okay, what was the question? I'm sorry.
What is a geek?
What is a geek?
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, a geek is anyone who is super passionate about a very specific topic. It doesn't matter what it is.
Okay.
My mom is a craft geek.
Okay.
She's all about, recently has been diamond dots painting picture things. She loves to death and does way too many of them. But it's really just anyone who has a massive passion for something that, you know, they kind of jump into and could talk about in depth, way beyond just a standard knowledge.
I dig that. I would agree with that. Stan, what about you? What would you think is the definition of a geek? What defines a geek?
Yeah, I feel like she summed it up pretty perfectly. But if I was to add anything else, sometimes that passion and you speaking so passionately about that thing sometimes makes you a bit of an outcast amongst certain social circles.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed, for sure. What about you folks in the audience? What do we think a geek is? Do we agree with this definition? Does that work for you all? Yeah? Yes, we're getting thumbs up and head nods, so you guys apparently are right. So now that we've kind of gotten that piece out of the way, what I'd also like to do is, because within this community, this group, this crowd, I often hear geek and nerd interchanged. They kind of sometimes, and some people feel like they're both. How would we quantify a nerd as opposed to a geek? Stan, I'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's used so interchangeably. Like, you know, I don't see a huge difference between the two, but that's just, you know, I'm not basing it on the dictionary definition. I'm just talking about my daily interactions, how people use it when they're interacting with me, how people use it amongst my peers and other people I know. So I feel like there probably is some specific difference, but not one that I see, you know.
Okay. Is there anybody amongst us in the crowd who feels like they might be more nerd than geek, or the other way around? More nerd than geek. Okay. You guys? No? Geeks? Nerd. Nerd. Okay. I dig that. Sure. Sure. Yeah. I'm beginning to feel like we, for a long time, have kind of, amongst ourselves, considered nerds to be, again, like you said, someone who's a little bit more socially awkward. You know, I grew up in the Revenge of the Nerd era, and so nerds were always the glasses, pocket protector, you know, just like they got bullied and, you know, somebody made them do their homework, do their homework and that kind of a thing. And now I'm beginning to feel like if you're a geek and maybe you're the only geek in the room, you're a nerd to the people who aren't geeks. Does that sound right?
I think that's fair, sir.
Yeah, a little bit. So let's do this. Anybody who's on the panel, including you, Stan, raise your hand if you are comfortable as a geek, as who you are. Oh, that was a delayed. It was such a delay.
I think she was
Tatiana.
waiting to see if there was a caveat to that question.
There's not a caveat. It's just
She just wants to make sure she has all the information before she raises her hand. That's all.
Hey,
she
All right.
she dots her I's and crosses her T's.
Okay, well, I dotted. T cross. Okay. Does that mean, Tatiana, with the... Here's what I love. I love how they all came to your defense immediately. I'm not going to attack you. I just... Does the delay mean you're not completely sure if you're comfortable?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's fair. And that's what I'm looking for, to be honest with you. Because that's part of why we're here. For those of you who are hanging out with us here in the crowd, are you all comfortable with who you are, how you are, and so forth? Yes, you can raise your hand. If you're not, you're in the middle.
Okay.
Depends on the group. You're comfortable with not always being comfortable depending on what the group is.
That's fair.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you just... It sounds like you are comfortable with who you are, though, like in yourself.
Okay.
Sure.
Nobody likes cocktail parties. Let's be real.
Well, I'm sure somebody does because they keep throwing them. But
That's just because it makes you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do.
yeah, I mean, look, one of the things that I am so comfortable, like it just because I just am who I am. But one of the things that helped me get comfortable was realizing that a lot of times there's just a difference in the way that we call somebody a geek, right? So like you said, if a geek is somebody who is just passionate about a very specific thing, if you are passionate about history, what do we call you, Sin?
You're a history.
You're a buff,
Thank you. Yes, buff.
right? Like you get to be a history buff, right? Or you're a sports,
Enthusiast.
Hey,
right?
Yes.
Or you're
That's what I'm thinking for.
you know, you could be a motorcycle buff. You could be an aficionado.
Yes.
But for us,
A
we
hip
just
hop
need-
head.
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
A
It just
car guy.
right, right. You know, sneakers, shit, like any of that. Sneakerhead, like we found these other ways to take people who are passionate about other things that maybe aren't comics or isn't math, right? Because like, you know, if you're passionate about math, there are people who are gonna think,
Yes. You're a nerd. You're
yeah,
a geek.
exactly. You don't, right. Talk to me a little bit about Shay. Have you always been comfortable?
No,
No.
not by a long shot.
So
I couldn't tell.
what? Okay. So for you, when was that transition? When did you transition into being comfortable?
All right, so there's stages, right? So when did I transition into this phase of comfortable with who I am?
Yeah.
Legitimately 2 years ago.
How so? What happened?
What I've realized is my whole life I've stood out. I'm a 6'1", very, very loud, gregarious woman.
Okay.
There is no blending
Sure.
ever in
Sure.
any situation. And so what I attempted to do, since I couldn't blend physically, I couldn't, you know, hunker down, be small, and just kind of be in the background.
Oh, like me?
Yeah, I can't do what you do. So I had to find something else. So what I tried to do was, I was a people pleaser. So I always tried to find something that somebody else liked and then take on a lot of aspects of that and mold my personality around their likes and their interests in an attempt to try and get friendship.
Okay.
What that leads to, I have found in my wise 36 years of life, it leads
So
to
young.
you really compromising what you like. You don't end up developing much of a personality for fear of upsetting people around you.
Sure.
You don't end up really delving out into scarier areas that force you to have to grow as a person.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, what ended up happening for me is I realized that I was in a relationship that wasn't healthy for me as far as growth.
Okay.
The person's not a bad person, just not good for me. And
Sometimes it happens that way.
it does,
Yeah.
it does. And that's the thing, is it turned into, you know, I think we should go our separate ways. And we've been, I'm not gonna lie, I've been married for 15 years. So it was a big implosion of my life. But what
Yeah.
ended up happening through that is that I started to look at the things that I really liked. And I started looking at the people around me and how they reacted. So things as simple as like, I really like this sunset eye makeup that I saw some chick do on Instagram, and damn it, I'm gonna do it because
Sure.
why not? The person that I was with previously legitimately looked at me and said, "You're actually gonna go out shopping to Walmart like that?" And I was like, "Bro, it's Walmart."
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody's worried about my eye makeup at Walmart,
not
I'm
that
not
big
at
of
a
a deal.
Walmart.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere else. And so I had gone out, and it was the first time that I actually took a stand in something that I liked, something
Yeah.
that I wanted to do for me. I went out to the store. I had 3 different women stop me and tell me that they thought that my makeup was badass.
Yeah.
They thought that I was awesome for wearing it. They were like, "Girl, get it. That's amazing." I was like, this feels better.
It was empowering.
This feels a lot
right?
better than
Yeah.
constantly hiding from
Yeah.
what I want to do and who I am. I am loud. I am boisterous. I am gregarious to a fault.
Sure.
I put people in awkward
We love you for it,
situations.
though.
I know, it's
We
okay.
do.
I'm
We
all
love
right
you
with
for
it.
it.
Just like you.
Yeah.
I have just learned to accept that this is what I am like. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who aren't going to like you for it. But
Yeah.
once you stop trying to be the people pleaser, which you will never, ever, ever do, you will never please every single person that you come across.
Not gonna happen.
You can be the nicest person in the world. People are going to say horrible things about you behind your back.
You don't hear those things. It's behind your back. Don't worry
Well,
about
sometimes you hear them. It depends on who you're talking to.
it. Yeah. Depends on how loud and gregarious they are about it. I suppose. I suppose. You know, it's
That's fair.
interesting that you say that because often in these panels I end up standing next to Sin or something like that. 'Cause Sin
Yeah.
and I have been great friends for decades. Thing. But I don't think either of us has grown in the multiple decades at all that we've been friends. However, sometimes I wear slightly taller shoes. And in the same way that you are like, I couldn't shrink myself, I couldn't hide, I couldn't whatever, I think because I've always been smaller than everybody else, I've always been louder. Like, so as opposed to allowing myself to not be noticed or not be a part of it, right? Because like, the only time they notice you is when you're all taking a picture and they're like, you're little, stand in the front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like
I get that you're tall,
in
stand in the
elementary
back.
school, I'd sit in the chair in the front and my feet didn't touch the ground kind of thing. And then when the pictures come back, people would be looking like, your feet don't touch the ground. I'm like, I knew that already. I didn't need the picture to know that. So like, part of who I've become and doing what I do, I think just came from saying, okay, I'm not gonna let you ignore me just because I'm not as tall as, or I'm not as big as, or, you know, what have you. And I think that pushed me to where I am. But being comfortable technically was like, I hang out with people who go to a movie premiere dressed as their favorite characters. Those are my people. And then I realized in a combative moment with let's call him a sports enthusiast, a fan addict, if you will. And he's like, you guys, you know, you dress up and you go, that's so weird. And I'm like, yeah, but like on Sunday, you're wearing some other guy's jersey with his name on the back. You're dressed up as a football player. You don't play football. You never play, like you didn't play in high school. You didn't play, like you never played football.
You go to the game in the cold, paint your body, take off your shirt, and scream for 2 hours.
Right, and like, we'll get in a physical fight with somebody who was there for the other team.
Yes. That neither you are a part of.
And that's rational. Is that rational? That's rational to you. So it's like I realize that like the levels of what's rational to people is all about what they consider normal, what they've been taught, and what that is. And so part of what I love about being at places like this is that everybody here is normal because we're all weird together, right? But that this kind of weird / geek is becoming more normal because pop culture is making it so. It's a little easier. Stan, have you always been comfortable?
I think it's, I've been comfortable with being different, I would say, like most of my life, right? And so, I mean, it started with, I would say my earliest memory would go back to like maybe second grade. And it started with me, you know, being switched into a different program because they believed that I was testing higher than a lot of my classmates and different things like that. So they switched me into a talented and gifted program.
Sure.
And then eventually, at some point in time, like I ended up applying to get into Suitland High School's Center of the Performing Arts, right? Yeah. So once I got immersed in, you know, in the visual arts, combined with the fact that I was a hip hop head who also was starting to write rhymes, like I just found myself constantly being in these worlds that were kind of different than most of my peers, like just fully immersed either in the art world or fully immersed in hip hop. And when I say hip hop, I'm not talking about just rap music, right? Because most people, when they say hip hop, they're talking about rap music. And what I find oftentimes that there are plenty nerds / geeks in the hip hop space when you're actually talking about real hip hop. And what I mean by that is when you're talking about the culture of hip hop, when you're talking about elements like graffiti art and you're talking about breakers, plenty of breakers that I know are like super geeks, you know what I mean? And same thing with DJs, where it varies. Like some are a bit more you know, nerd or geek than others based on what the subject is. Yeah. So, and it goes on and on, like beatboxers, like all of these different people. So I existed in those spaces for, I would say like maybe 75% of my life, right? Wow. Like I've been immersed in these spaces. And what I would find is that when I would kind of, you know, kick it around folks who weren't as into these things as I was, you know, like the conversations about these things, even with hip hop, when I start to really dive deep into these things that I'm talking about, people look at you sideways. They start questioning, quote unquote, how cool you are, or if you're, or like, you know, to be frank, your blackness comes into question, right? How black are you really? You know what I mean? Because you're like, you know, we were in the anime at a time where like a good amount of people, there were people who would talking about it maybe when they come over, right? Like they're hanging out at your place, y'all can have full conversations about it. But in general, if we're all out playing football, you know, like, and then after we finish the game and I'm like, yo, man, I'm about to go watch Ninja Scroll.
Right.
What are you talking about? Like, if it was a kung fu flick, maybe, right? But like back then, it wasn't necessarily as accepted. You know, so yeah, man, I feel like I've been comfortable being who I've really been for a long time, but I would find myself trying to adapt in certain situations. Because I grew up around certain elements, and you know, like, I mean, literally, man, like, you know, from drug dealers and just all types of stuff. I was like heavy in the mix amongst, you know, my peers and stuff, the things they were into and I was present for. So like, there was like a time and a place to kind of to discuss certain things, you know what I mean? And you weren't always free to be you, and you found people always trying to yuck your yum, so to speak. And so, but one of the things that helped me as I moved forward was, you know, in one breath, folks love to pick with you about different things, but at the same time, people will get on you in a second if they find you're being a hater. And so I use that as a weapon at some point. I'm like, how, like, you talking about this person being a hater on something, but every time I bring up X, Y, and Z, you hating on me. You're constantly trying to yuck my yum. It's like, son, let me live, son. That's what I love. You know what I'm saying? I don't need your permission to love it.
That's right. Jokes.
Yo.
You've been comfortable for a long time, right?
I would say so.
Okay. Sin, comfortable?
Absolutely.
For quite some time?
Yes.
Always?
But not always, more confusion early on.
Okay.
Like I said, like, it wasn't really until I met you and started hanging out with you that it really started to click for me. Because it was like, I had a core group of friends that I hang out with, still love them, hang out with them to this day, but like, they were more the quote-unquote geeky, nerdy ones. You know, we do LAN parties, all that kind of stuff. You know, great. But then on the other side, I was heavy into music. Like, all the new hip-hop, all the new R&B, all that kind of stuff. So walk around the school, I could go blow for blow with other people about that, but the second I start talking about X-Men, then I'm, you know, like, oh, what are you talking about? That's weird. Like, shut up, X-Men is awesome. Don't look at me like that. You know, it was kind of weird. But then, you know, we met and started kicking him like, this dude is just like me. He's into all the video games and anime back then and into the same music that I am. So it is a lane for someone like me, you know what I'm saying, in this world. And it just made me feel a whole lot better. Like, okay, so I'm good. I'm good with being me.
Are there any of you amongst us here in the crowd who ever feel like you have to kind of skirt the line? Like, do you feel that way? Like, sometimes in certain situations you can be exactly who you are and who you want to be all the time, and then other times you just can't, sort of like a cocktail party, like you're discussing. So a little bit of that. Is that when you feel the most comfortable, are you with the people you like the most? Yes? Okay. So that's a very good thing. Do you find that those people also like the things you like? Or do you have differing opinions on things and it's okay? The latter. You have differing opinions, but it's okay that you don't agree on everything. What's up, Tony? I think that's also important, because I do think that the circle you keep around you not only has a great influence on how and who you are, but also puts you in a position to be as comfortable as you possibly can be. You know, all of my friends growing up, even I guess just before I met Sin and really started hanging out with Sin, were visual artists. They're like animators now, and they do comic books and stuff like that, and they always did that. And for a long time, I tried to do what they did. Like I tried to, and I had a little bit, but I didn't have what they had in terms of like being able to draw and that kind of stuff. But I found my lane in music, right? And so, but we were all also band geeks. Anybody in the band? Was anybody in the band? Yep, there we go. What do we play? What do we play? Flute,
Nice.
self-taught piano, and self-taught ukulele? That's awesome.
That's awesome.
What about you? Flute,
Nice.
clarinet, and what sax? Tenor
Okay.
sax. I played alto,
Clarinet.
Trumpet. A little bit of baritone.
I played snare drums. Like, I was in a marching band.
We all were. Yep.
That was not cool. I just want y'all to know, that was not cool. I made it work, and like, our marching band, though, we played music we liked.
We was lit.
No two ways about it. Like, we played music that we liked, and that, I think, helped some of that, like, being able to skirt that line. So, yeah, like, we might go in the band room and play the theme song to the X-Men cartoon, because that's what we wanted to
rock.
do. And everybody had a good time doing it. And then people walk by and they'd recognize it, but maybe they wouldn't peek in, like they wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, Tatiana, you've been so quiet. It's your turn. This slightly feeling comfortable, but you're not totally sure. What part of it is it that you're unsure about? The mic's there, or should I? Okay, I just want to make sure they can hear you. It's important. Hold on. I sense a little social anxiety. Anybody else socially anxious? Feel free. Okay. So let me just start by thanking you for being here, for even raising your hand if you're
Yes.
socially anxious, and for responding to questions and so forth. Like, I do know that is a big deal. So thank you. So I want you to be comfortable. That's what we're here for. But again, sometimes it does help to just kind of talk about it. So what is it that you're not sure of in terms of whether you're comfortable or not?
I mean, I've always been interested in like Spider-Man, Batman, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Can you all hear her?
No.
No. Yes and no. Okay. There we go.
always been interested in Batman, Spider-Man, stuff like that. However, didn't feel too comfortable until I met
Oh,
this guy right here.
that's so sweet. That's I just want to express how different that is from what Shay was just saying about her previous relationship, which is important.
I mean,
Okay.
to be fair, I do also now have a relationship now that encourages, which
It's
makes
different
it
now,
easier.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he helped.
Bring that out a little bit more.
Okay. But you're not totally comfortable yet.
Not yet.
What do we need to do? Cosplay? No, that's not. Like I'm not doing that. Look, Shay's like, yes.
Together.
Yeah, I'm not
Could be a
doing it.
possibility.
Oh yeah.
It's a,
Okay.
Would that have something to do with maybe growing up and being a girl and that being like boy type of stuff that
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that I also find is a thing. Like my daughter said the same thing when she was on the panel with us. She was like, "Yeah, I used to take my Spider-Man book to school, like my Ultimate Spider-Man like dictionary, and all the boys would pick on me and be like, "You don't know anything about Spider-Man." It's like, well, clearly
obviously I do.
I know more though because I have I have the book. So that's definitely a thing. Do any of you find that that's been a thing for you? Like, as ladies, have you found that it's tougher for you in those, even in circles like this, when you're at a place like this, because your knowledge comes into question or something along those lines? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. You do? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think, do you get those questions specifically from guys? Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it is that there's an assumption? Because clearly this is not a thing that's just about anime or video games or comic books. Like there are things like that just in regular society, right? Like you're active military, so I'm sure you get it, right?
I got comments for this.
Oh, I bet you do. I bet you do. Why do you think that is? Anybody? The patriarchy, sure. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you'd agree with that? That's it. Yeah, be barefoot and pregnant and cook. Those are your things.
I just want to know where you all grew up because I didn't have that experience. It makes me sad though, like because it's a common thing that you hear. The thing that I grew up literally, my mom was like, "I don't care what you play with. I don't care what you do."
Sure.
Like I grew up doing martial arts, painting, ceramics, dress up.
You have siblings? Older siblings?
My siblings are old enough to be my parents, so like we don't like they're siblings, but they don't really count.
Okay.
But I think the biggest thing that I've noticed isn't so much that there's there's people that do think you should be barefoot and pregnant. The vast majority of sane people that I have ever communicated with all think that that's ridiculous. Right. I think that is a comfortable thing that a lot of people want to pin it on. I think what it more is so many people wrap up their entire identity based on their fandom.
Sure.
Right? I am a gamer girl. I am an anime freak, fan, whatever.
Right.
And that becomes your entire identity. So if you feel at any point in time that is being threatened by somebody that you feel isn't enough of a fan, you start getting kind of a really visceral reaction to where, especially as women, because you possibly couldn't have been doing this as long as I've been doing this because I'm the only one that had a VHS tape that had anime. Like, I mean, obviously everybody had access to it.
I had Betamax. I'll just
whatever.
throw it out there.
Whatever you got to do, your 8-tracks, that's cool.
Yes, ma'am. What would you like to say? Yeah. Yeah,
Gatekeeping was word
you bring up a good point. Gatekeeping has certainly been something that we've talked about in this panel before. And here's the thing. Gatekeeping, for me, it's a tricky and touchy subject. I don't actually think all gatekeeping is bad. I think the way that we gatekeep tends to be bad. Most of the time, when people are gatekeeping, and it doesn't really matter what the subject matter is. It might be music or hip hop. Like, watch this. Hey, Stan, all that new mumble rap, Fandango. Like, you like all that new. You like?
It's not. I mean, it's. I would say this. It's contingent on who the artist is, right?
Sure.
Like it's. I don't necessarily see a particular subgenre and then basically say that the whole thing is trash because I haven't heard every artist.
Sure.
So there's some artists that they don't necessarily specialize in that, but they'll add it to their repertoire and they'll do it in a way that I find interesting. So I don't do those sweeping statements like, oh, it's all trash. You know what I mean?
I think that's important too. Like, most of the time, gatekeeping actually does come out of a place of love for the thing that you love.
Yes.
Whatever it is, right? And so, the fear that something you love becomes watered down or less like it used to be or not the way it was when you found it, right? Which probably means it wasn't the way it was when the people before you found it too, right? I think a lot of times what happens is we don't realize that in order for something that we really do love to continue to exist and to grow, and for people to understand us, like we want understanding from other people of the things that make us different or quirky or weird, but if we don't let them in, how can they ever discover it and figure that out, right?
Yeah.
And so...
Can I point something else out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like it's important to understand that the thing that we like, at some point in time, our generation came in and took something else that was different
Right.
prior to us coming in, and we altered it, we changed it, and we came up with something that ended up being labeled something else.
Correct.
But like, it's a cycle. We've all participated in this thing that we sometimes quote unquote hate on in some way, shape, or form. Everyone's guilty of it.
No doubt. Is anybody here a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender? The cartoon, not the movie. The cartoon, not the movie. So we have a couple of fans. When that show hit on Nickelodeon, it pulled and used a lot of tropes that were usually only known specifically in anime. And I can remember having conversations with people about whether or not that show qualified as anime or not. If I had to ask you right now, what is it that makes something an anime, that qualifies it as an anime versus not, what are those things? Is there a list? Is there somewhere I can go to find out what it is? How does that work? Sin, you're our resident anime expert.
I think it's not just the art style, but it's the history and culture that they pour into anime. I think that's what defines it as anime overall.
So would you define Avatar: The Last Airbender as anime?
No,
No.
I'm not there yet.
Nope, not there yet.
Yeah,
You know what though? Keeping an open mind, and that is what's important. Is that you're keeping an open mind about it. Yeah, I mean, look, there are things I love. Spider-Man is and always has been my favorite character, point blank, period, full stop, don't laugh again. And like now, he's everywhere, which I love. But like at the same time, he's everywhere. And so there is a part of me that is kind of like, yeah, maybe don't do that with it. You know what I mean? Or like, maybe don't do that with it. But at the same time, man, it is incredible for me to see kids that are 3 and 4 that are in love with Spider-Man the way I was when I was 3 or 4, 40 years ago. You know what I mean? Like that's incredible to me.
Yeah, I love when I'm on TikTok and I see somebody showing like their kids like an anime like Naruto or something for the first time. And I'm excited. I'm like, hey, we got a new fan. Let's go, dude.
Yeah, I like, but I think that is the difference between gatekeeping. See, I consider that bouncing. Like that's being a bouncer. That is deciding who you let in and who you don't. And so as a parent, and I'm guilty of it, you can introduce your children to the things that you loved. Right? Like my dad did it to me. Like I like Star Trek. I don't love Star Trek. My father loves Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I watched it, black and white. You know what I mean? Old school Kirk, right? My daughter talking about her Spider-Man book. I probably had something to do with that.
You think?
I'm positive I didn't buy that book for her though. You know what I mean? But it's not like it wasn't forced, but it was everywhere. Like there's Spider-Man all over the house. It's
literally everywhere.
It's everywhere, right? So when you're a bouncer, you get to pick and choose who gets in and who doesn't. And I think a lot of times the gatekeepers are there just to keep people out. We just don't want you. You just can't be here. When you're making the choice to bring people in, hey, you should really sit down and watch this anime. You're gonna love it. Now I've decided you can come in if you watch this. You know what I'm saying? So that's the same thing you're dealing with, right? When somebody says to you, you like anime, well, have you seen One Piece, right? It's sort of bouncing. It is gatekeeping, right? But it's sort of bouncing like, all right, you might be cool, but let me see how cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's really a thing. And again, that kind of gatekeeping / bouncing, I honestly believe happens with anything that people love, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Jokes. Yo. You love wrestling.
Yes, sir.
You too. Now, did you love wrestling before him?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Look at you gatekeep her right now. You had to make sure she was a good enough fan that she loved it before she got in a
Well, here's the
relationship.
thing. I loved it. I loved it before I knew him.
No, she
Right?
was like, "Are you serious?"
And now I don't. It just, I fell off. I don't love it anymore. However, I love hearing y'all talk about it because you're so excited about it. You know what I mean? Like, you're a Pokemon guy. How many Pokemon can you name right now? Go.
I can do probably the original 151. The first and second generation, but then 3, 4, 5, 6. I can give you certain ones, but I gave up trying to keep all
You know how many I can tell you?
2.
Probably. Nah, maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
I might give you 5.
Go.
Bulbasaur,
Pikachu.
Charmander, Pikachu, Sleepy joint from
See how hard this is?
Sleepy Joe for Smash.
Jigglypuff, Blastoise. High five.
There, that's 5. All right. How many Gundams can you name?
Ooh, now that's a different.
You could just go.
I could probably go on for days, but
Can you do that?
No, I can't do that. Nah.
I can't do that either.
You see
Neither.
more than that.
I go on for days.
Can you Substantial? You got some Gundams? You a Gundam guy? You
Nah, I'm saying I can't do the Gundam joint. I can't do the even with the Pokemon. I can probably give you 2.
Yeah. Isn't there?
But like-
I know there's a unicorn Gundam, right?
You said say again.
It is.
I'm a G. I win. I win.
that one.
Here's the thing. We all love different stuff. There are things that each of us love more than the other thing, but we have a mutual
Facts.
respect for each other and what they love. Jokes. Hey, Jokes.
Yeah.
You like that rap song with The Rock on it?
I knew he was gonna eventually break.
You like that?
See, I like Tech 9.
I do too.
So, I don't have a problem with the Rock's verse in there, other than the
Okay.
fact that he said there was one take, and I don't know.
You don't believe it?
I don't know if that was
It
necessarily.
probably
one.
was. He's an actor. Like, he memorized his lines and goes in and like he could probably, if it was written for him or he wrote it, he probably could go in there and do it in one take. Like, I wouldn't be surprised about that. I don't like how he said it. Like, you're not Hove. Like, don't come in here like you Jay-Z just want,
Hey, one take.
But okay.
Terramana.
Terramana. Let me just shout out my, yeah. So, like, for those of you who have your circle, your group, I hope you all have, like, your people. You have your group, your folks that you regularly spend time with, hang out with, talk about the things you love with. I honestly hope you fight with them and you argue with them about what they love too. Does that happen for you all? Yes. Are you DC or Marvel? Nobody's either. We don't care. I love this. I love this. Okay. We're anime folks? Okay. Do we have wrestling fans here in the group? Okay. Are you particular about your wrestling? Are you an AEW? That's what you love. Okay. Well, they're letting a lot of people go, and I don't like that.
I don't like that. I know.
There is some trouble brewing there. Okay. Jokes. Your wrestling preference.
I watch everything. So I watch WWE, I watch AEW. I'm sitting up at 2 and 3 in the morning. I'm watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm going to the indie shows in the area, MCW, a lot of the local adrenaline wrestling that just started, C3W. Like, I love everything because they all have different products that's presented to us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing about wrestling. At one point in time, you had really just one option, WWE. Like, that's really the only thing that you could see. And then when indie promotion started becoming more of a thing once again, AEW I want to say they kind of just opened up the door within the last few years for companies working together. Like, I think it's probably the best thing that has happened for wrestling. And WWE now, it looks like that door is now opening.
Yeah.
Because they just announced yesterday, wrestling fans, Mickie James, who is currently the Impact Women's Champion, is going to be in the Royal Rumble. And they introduced her specifically as the Impact Women's Champion.
That's cool.
Normally, WWE will not make reference to any other company.
Yeah.
So I think that's a step in them going through the forbidden door.
That's probably Hunter Hearst Helmsley's doing
I
in the
don't know,
background.
man. They've destroyed his NXT.
Ah.
So I don't know.
You got to find
Can
something.
I ask Jokes a question?
What up?
Hey, so when you were younger, right? Because I'm sure you got into wrestling really young. One of the things, I don't watch it as much now, but I definitely was super into it when I was younger. Did you make your own belts out of cardboard boxes?
I never made one, but I always visualize having something. I just grab something. Yeah, I'm the champion.
You just pick
Yeah.
anything up.
Just pick something up. I'm the champion.
Okay.
Man, we would take cardboard boxes, cut them up into the shape of belts, mix it up with like graffiti and all of that, and put like all types of stuff. Man, listen, and we were going at it, man, going at it, wrestling, trying to get each other's belts. It was a thing. It was a whole thing.
I love it. There was a time when I was super into it, and I did make my children watch wrestling. My child at the time, I only had one at the time. I definitely made hers, but she loved it.
Well, so here's something that I think is interesting.
Yeah.
We have so many kids that are fans, right? That are fans of anything, unabashedly, unapologetically.
Sure.
I love it. I don't care. I'm gonna walk around with my Pokemans. I'm gonna carry all of them at once every time I go to Walmart because I want everyone to see them all the time. And what if they got away from me, right? Like that. What point does everybody lose that? And I can tell you what my opinion is, but I think the biggest thing is at some point you get older.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
and in getting older, you start worrying about everybody else out here.
Yeah.
And what these people, what are you going to say? What are you going to think? If I tell you that I like this, how is that going to come back?
Yeah.
I think that we get so caught up, the thing that ends up stopping people from really enjoying and embracing who they are and what they love, we get so caught up in what everyone else is going to say about it. Exactly. Right. And you know what? It is freeing as hell when you go, I just don't care anymore.
Sure.
And you end up finding people who are just as passionate as you are, who are just as comfortable as you are, who will introduce you to stuff you never even considered. Yeah. You can find new fandoms that way, but we get so caught up, and the thing that stops people from being comfortable is you. You stop yourself for the worry of what other people are going to say, and 9 times out of 10, those other people don't exist, and the ones that do are the ones that their opinions don't matter. Like, words hurt you when you let them hurt you. Yeah. If I don't, right now, if I don't respect you and you start bashing on me, okay? Like, you're a random person. I don't respect you. It doesn't matter. But, I care about you. Now you start saying things, be like, dude, what's wrong? What did I do? Yeah. Now it hurts because I care.
I think that's much harder when you're 12.
Yeah.
I think that we make it harder because you feel like you can't love, it's kid stuff to love stuff to that degree, and it isn't. Well, you're right, but you don't. You still have to go to work.
As a kid, you don't always know that, right? So for my kids, they grew up with me, so it's always been okay for them to love whatever they love for as long as they love, because clearly I didn't stop playing video games. You know what I mean? Right. But not all kids have that. We've done panels like this where we have parents that are in the group who are like, I'm here with my kid, and I'm going to be honest, I was one of the people that bullied people like you. Yep. And I'm so scared my kid's going to get bullied, and I don't know what to do. And we have literally had parents stop us after it's over and just say I just want to make sure I'm doing the right things. I just want to make sure that I'm nurturing this the right way or whatever. Or when is it too late? When shouldn't they be allowed to do this? And it's they're never not allowed to do it. But I do think that sometimes we have to allow our love of a particular thing or a fandom to grow up. And so what that means a lot of times is learning and understanding other things about it other than just the fact that they sold you toys. Yeah. Right? So for me, when I didn't get into comic books until I was in middle school, so 12. But that transition between middle school and high school was more I'm a collector. Right? I collect things, and there's a possibility that these things have or will have value other than the value they have to me. They may have value later on in life. And I think that the way that we view the things that we love, as children, the way we love them and why we love them can change. It's very easy for me to say I've always loved Spider-Man because I've loved him since I was 4. What is different about my understanding of loving Spider-Man when I was 4 versus knowing that I love Spider-Man now is that for me, and it took until I was probably 32-ish to figure this out, but I was born in Philadelphia. I grew up in that time, I was in a predominantly white area, and for me, I could be Spider-Man because he's completely covered. So I think that subconsciously, I just had a link. Like, I knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker. You know what I'm saying? But like, when me and all my friends would get together, if we were playing, let's say, Super Friends, right? Like, Saturday morning cartoons just ended, we're all gonna go outside and we're gonna play. Well, everybody wants to be Superman, but there isn't a Superman that's me. You understand what I'm saying? Stop it.
Not me.
I know. Right? And there wasn't a level of representation for me, and I didn't really, of course you don't think about that when you're little. But when I got older, and especially as they began to create, there are so many versions of Spider-Man, right? That the idea that anybody can be Spider-Man is much more of a real thing now, and I think that helped me to recognize that as a child, that like, you know, J. Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man because he wears a mask, right? You're a vigilante, you're a masked vigilante. And it's like, Batman wears a mask, but you can see. You know what I mean? Like, you know he's a white guy under there. Spider-Man was different for me growing up, and I really think that's why I was attached to it at such a young age. And it took me a very long time to realize that might be why that attachment, you know, was there. But as an adult, choosing to outwardly love Spider-Man, wear Spider-Man shoes and socks and belts because they exist now and they didn't for a long time, to have people ask you, what's up with the Spider-Man? Oh no, Spider-Man's just dope. Oh, okay. And they just let it go. But Spider-Man is so mainstream. It's easier for me to love Spider-Man than it probably was for Sin to love anime.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's different now. So I'm gonna ask, is there anybody here who grew up with Toonami and like Dragon Ball on TV for you when you came home from school? Right? That was you. That era was like, Sin and I came up in an era where you had to go hunt for anime. We had to go find it. We had to go and find it on VHS and buy it and watch it. And like, when people got excited about Dragon Ball, it was like, well, we seen that.
I'd already completed it.
Right.
Like, y'all are just starting.
Right. So it's easier, I think, now.
Way easier.
If you're into anime. It's not easy.
Socially acceptable too.
Yes.
It's a lot more socially acceptable, right? People are much more acceptable of other cultures and other things because of that kind of stuff, because of the internet.
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
Social media.
wasn't a thing before. So now you also have other ways to lean into being comfortable and finding people that are like you, that are like-minded, that enjoy what you enjoy without being somewhere like this. It used to be, it was until you came to a convention where everybody here loves video games. That's why we're all here, right? But now you can find a Facebook group that is all about whatever games you like. You can find a group that is specific to anime or one that is specific to a specific anime. Sin, what's your favorite anime?
I go between One Piece and Evangelion.
Do you bounce back and forth between
Well,
them?
it's only because I don't want to give One Piece the title till it's completed.
Okay,
But
that's
once
fair.
it's done, I'm pretty sure that's jumping to
That's
number
going to be the one.
Yeah.
For the anime fans, do we have a favorite?
Gets.
Gets?
Ghost in the
I dig
Shell.
that. I respect that.
Okay.
Nah, we thought about
Military
it,
girl,
but not
okay.
really. What's your favorite?
Okay, I get that one.
What's your favorite? Attack on Titan. I respect that.
No, I totally respect that.
I respect that.
Starts tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's right.
It's on my calendar.
For you,
Gundam.
Gundam is your favorite, period. How did you become into so many fandoms?
I think it kind of spawned over time. So like, for me starting younger, I think the first thing for me would have been Power Rangers. So,
Oh, you mean the one, that show that started because of Spider-Man?
see, we do this every single time. Whatever.
Every time, yeah. I want you to forget it.
But-
I won't let you forget it.
As one thing, and you know, so let's use Fox Kids for example.
Okay.
So I could sit Saturday morning and literally, because everything was just fire at that point, I could sit there and watch every single show. So I think that was where, you start realizing, you know what, there's so many other things out here that I probably will be interested in. Let me start dabbling my hands and looking at other things on there.
Yeah.
Like I would take like a Cartoon Network, I'll sit and watch it for a whole entire day. There's probably some things on there that I just don't like, but you know what? I'm gonna watch it and give it a chance to it.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I was fortunate enough, Mom and Dad were always like, you know what? Try to experience things that you've never experienced before, and I love them for that. And they didn't try to just say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I think that helped a lot of picking up on other fandoms. Like I found out my dad's favorite movie was Scarface.
Right.
Now, my father, and like hearing my dad say that his favorite movie was Scarface was just like, wait,
what?
Wait, what?
Right.
So that was one of those.
There was a time when you weren't old enough to know that.
No.
That's just a real thing because of what kind of movie it is.
So
right?
I think that was one of those things where, and me growing up, like I always was just into what I was into.
Yeah.
And I found a person here and there that was interested in the same things, but people didn't try to like bully me or anything, probably because I was the bigger kid.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that fear of, maybe we still shouldn't do anything to him because he's like twice our size or whatnot ever. But I think that was a part of it. And I just always wanted to absorb different things. Like that was just my personality.
Yeah. I
just wanted to absorb as much as I could regardless of what it was.
Tatiana, are you the same way? You got a lot of fandoms. You have a lot of fandoms. Have you always been that way too? Has it always just been like, just kind of wanting to absorb some of everything?
Yes.
Yeah? How old were you guys when you met?
14, 15.
They don't even know. That's how long they've been together. Like, I don't know. One of y'all better get it right. Somebody's getting in trouble.
10th grade. 10th grade. There we go.
Okay.
Let's do that.
10th grade. Okay. Prior to 10th grade, you were more uncomfortable.
Right.
Did you have friends that were not into the same things you were into?
No friends. I'm the oldest of 4.
Yeah.
The only one that watched wrestling.
Yeah. So you were just into it because you were. Like you didn't have other people, that you didn't have that social circle to kind of help you navigate being, you just liked what you liked. I dig that. Sin, you got comfortable 23 years ago.
Something like that.
Something like that, like 23 years ago. Up until that point, did you feel like, because you had a circle of friends that were into the things you were in, again, you guys are doing LAN parties, and which is, let me just say, that's ostensibly geek and nerd. Like, if you're toting computers, monitors, the whole nine. We go to somebody's house, sit there for the whole weekend, and just go. You're in a different circle. And I'm gonna tell you that where we went to school, that's not okay. Like that was just not. Yeah.
But it was great.
Yeah. So, did you find it difficult? Once you began to become comfortable, did you find it difficult to navigate both of those worlds? Were you able to combine those two worlds easily?
Yeah, because it's, it was mainly music, games, and, cool movies and anime and stuff like that. And that's just everybody that I had around me was all into that, type of stuff. So I was good with my core group, meeting you, expanding that group, and just, I'm good with the people I have around me. I have my family, I have my team around me. I'm great.
Yeah.
And we just keep growing and expanding and just keep being the people that we are and just piggybacking off each other.
Anybody read books? Are you an avid reader? You are. You're sort of. You're avid. You're a reader. I'm going to ask a very important question. Do your books have pictures in them? Because all of mine have pictures in them. I want you to know. I don't mind reading, but I like pictures in my books. That's a real thing for me. How about you?
So nowadays, I mostly audiobooks because I get them from the library.
Okay.
And I tend to be doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So now I don't read with my eyes so much anymore.
You're listening more. Okay. When you listen to audiobooks, are they just like narrated, or are they like acting? So is it? So it's more like listening to a movie.
In a way,
Is
it's
that?
like a perfect adaptation.
Yeah. Okay. I dig that. Do any of the rest of you do audiobooks? Is this a thing I should be looking into?
Yes, they're free for your library. You have to pay for that.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yes, love
Yes.
music. What's your favorite Paul Simon song? Mine is 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. That is a great song. Let me tell you something. That song is, oh my goodness. That's a great song.
He felt something with that one.
Bro,
It'll hit the nerve.
love that song.
I got a question for the avid readers.
Yeah. What's that?
Any of you into Chuck Palahniuk at all?
Anybody in Chuck Palahniuk? Nope. They haven't heard
Oh,
of
it's
him.
just, I'm sad inside. Oh,
I want you
just
to know
me.
that Substantial is an author.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, I got one children's book under my belt. You know what I mean? Going to work on that
That's
second one this year.
It's got pictures in it though, right?
Yes, it's the children's book.
That's
but
my
yes.
kind of book right there. It's my kind of book. Yeah, that's awesome. Why should we be going to find Chuck Palahniuk? What is the?
Man, Chuck Palahniuk, he did. Most people know Fight Club, right? Like he's the author of the book Fight
Yeah.
Club,
Yeah.
right? But he's written. There's a really dope book he wrote called Choke. They actually turned that into a film as well.
Okay.
And my personal favorite is a book called Lullaby, which is it's about a African. It's like an African proverb, like a short story these African tells, where apparently when you read this one particular story from this book, basically it kills people. And so there's a small amount of people in the world who know the power of this thing, and they basically go around trying to find every version of the book so that they can take it out of the public's hands. But at the same time, while using power that
That sounds dope. That sounded like Death Note. That sounds like something that could be a great anime.
Chuck Palahniuk is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Another great book is Survivor. He has a lot of dope joints. It ain't for everybody though, you know what I mean? But if you like how, like Fight Club, I mean, the book Fight Club isn't necessary. I feel like the movie Fight Club is one of the few examples of a movie that's actually better than the book.
Yeah.
But some of his other books, though, like just how he writes, like if you like how Fight Book reads, like that's how his books in general read, and it's very interesting.
I dig that.
Yeah.
When did you become a reader, Substantial? Have you always
Well,
been?
I wouldn't say I'm as avid a reader as most. Like my wife reads far more than me.
Yeah.
These days, I'm reading more things that kind of pertain to the basically education in the music business, because I'm an educator as well. So
Right.
most of what I'm reading is like articles, studies, things of that nature. But like books that are similar to the type of stuff that Chuck Palahniuk writes, or are about particular like creatives that I'm super into.
Yeah.
Like right now I'm reading a book about Kendrick Lamar called The Butterfly Effect. And it's actually written by a guy who's from PG County, from Landover, Maryland.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that's super dope because he shouts out Landover before you even start reading about Kendrick. That's super dope.
Got it. Got it.
But
Got it.
anyway, I would say that started probably more so in my 20s, because I would read when I was younger, but it wasn't very enjoyable. But when I got older and found things that spoke to my specific interests, then like when I found those books, I would fly through them. Stuff like The Alchemist and things of that nature.
Yeah.
You know?
I think growing up, the library was for school work.
Yeah.
Period. For me, like that's what that was, and like it wasn't okay. You know what I mean? To like it wasn't
Right.
cool to go and read books, or
Not even a little bit.
like it wasn't that wasn't a thing. And not that like comic books were cool to other people because they weren't. But like if you're gonna pick on me, because I'm reading something, it's definitely gonna be something I really like. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna know I like it going in. Is kind of how it is. Did anybody here get picked on? Yes. Thinking about it. Not sure. Yes. So Shay, that's interesting. Were you picked on by people your size?
No.
Have you always been taller than everybody
Yes.
else?
Yes.
You were picked on by people.
I was almost 2 feet long when I was born. Like, bless my mother.
Well, say
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna
Bless
say.
my mother.
God bless that woman.
Okay.
No, so the funny thing is, growing up, I usually was picked on by guys because girls hated me, so they just left me alone.
Okay.
But I was always picked on by little guys.
They probably liked you.
No,
they probably liked
no,
you.
what it was with a lot of them. What it was with a lot of them, right? So I went to my high school had a very, very heavy Pacific Islander
okay.
population. We had a ton of Samoans, Polynesians. They were huge.
Yeah.
You don't mess with them.
Sure.
Like I watched one get pissed off at some little kid who was picking on him and picked him up by his neck. So
I mean,
so the little guys couldn't pick on the bigger guys to gain any cred.
sure.
So the next best thing in their very interesting minds was I'll pick on the big girl because she's a girl, so I could probably take her.
Wrong.
Yeah, this is a girl whose dad is a 2-time black belt who taught out of our house.
Oh, okay.
And when I think when I was 8, taught me to throw knives.
Okay.
So
We're doing
this
well.
is probably not
Not gonna work out the best for them.
that's not the right person. I've never been in a fight though.
I mean, I
Believe
would.
it or not.
No, I can believe that.
Somebody looks at you like I'm good.
I'm good.
No, they
I'll
look
talk
at me,
trash
they
over
stand up, they say some things, and then I had a really weird stoic personality where I said, I just need you to try to hit me so I have something to tell my dad, because he's a lot scarier than you, and if I start a fight, my ass is grass, but if I finish a fight, I get ice cream.
Right. I dig that. I dig that. Sin, did you get picked on?
No, not really. Just people like this weird that you look at that type of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't care.
It's because you were a boy and big, you see, so they just went,
Joke,
That's
you already
too
said
much.
you didn't get picked on. Tatiana, did people pick on you? No. No? Why? Did they just keep their distance, or was it like? Yeah. They just. Oh, okay. Save it for them. You're also not a short woman.
no, she isn't.
Stand up. It's your turn this time. I mean, yeah. So you're not. Yeah. I mean, still. I remember being told I was average height for a woman. So, you know.
Wait, how tall are you?
Oh, I fought her. Just don't worry. Let's not. I fought her. No. Somewhere between 5'6" and 5'8", depends on what shoes I'm wearing.
Okay. So
I'm taller than Prince. That's.
I'm just going to do this.
You know what I'm saying? Here we go.
No, look, I'm not trying to make you feel bad.
Oh no, you won't. It's too late for that.
Stand next to me all the
So if you're
time.
average height for a woman, you see this, and then I wear heels. I'm just saying. So
Not today. Not heels today.
No, I gotta work today.
Okay. Yeah, it's Yeah, like I think I would have got picked on. Again, I've told this story, but I think I probably would have been picked on if most of my friends weren't Sin's size. Like all of my
that
friends were
happens all
bigger
the
than
time,
me,
too,
which
doesn't it?
wasn't hard to
Did you always end
do.
up with like really short friends?
Sin, what are you, 6'2"?
6'2". Yeah.
So, and Jokes, you're what, 6'1"?
6 the same, yeah. Like
6'1", 6'2"?
Yeah, I was gonna say every time I've ever seen you, you look like you roll with the goons. You know what I mean? Like everybody
Yeah.
just
It looks like I have bodyguards, and so. But I also
Ghost
had
squad,
like,
you know what I mean?
like my sister. So like my sister was way cooler than me, and she was like a cheerleader and like knew all the football players and all the basketball players and all that kind of stuff. So like, and she's 2 years older than me. So when I got to high school, the people who would have picked on me couldn't, because I knew all the people who she knew by proxy. You know what I mean? And so it's just one of those things. I also got extra points because I also knew all the cheerleaders, because my sister was a cheerleader.
Yeah.
So like first day of school, 9th grade, I'm like at my locker. Let me see. When I got to high school, I was 4'7".
I was gonna say 4'11". I was there for 11. But
Nope. Nope. Give me a little. Nah. Well, my mom is 5 foot, and I was still shorter than her. So, and I remember being in my locker and like trying to get my combination right or whatever, and being with like my other friends who again are all bigger than me, and like the entire cheerleading squad walking like, "Oh hey, Bree, what's up there?" Like, and everybody like, "You know them?" Oh yeah. They be over at the house. Like I'm selling it. Like they come to the house. Hey, I know all of them. Yeah. I got it. Definitely saved me some. Again, like circumstantially, I don't think I was ever picked on. That doesn't mean I never got into it with somebody, but like circumstantially, I think I was never picked on. Just like circumstantially, you kind of got picked on because of the demographic of the building you were in. For those of you who did get picked on. Is picked on the right way to say it, or should we say bullied? Like, did you get picked on, or did you get bullied?
Oh,
What happened?
I would say that's
Really?
that's beyond both.
In elementary school?
Yeah.
What? Ah,
I hate that argument.
wow. Yeah, that's not a good
That's a
argument.
mean argument.
That's definitely
You're
definitely a
bigger,
mean-
so you're not supposed to fight back. No.
Yeah.
You swing at me, it's on.
I agree 100%. So, do we feel like we still get picked on to this day? Does that still happen? Yes. At work. Do the people at your job know that you come to conventions like this? Okay. But that wasn't always the case. Mm-hmm.
And if I were like in a slightly different job, I would probably be around more people like this.
Okay. I dig that. Do your people who you work with, do they know you're here? Yeah? They do. Not a big deal. The rest of you? Yes?
I went to a workplace where I was just smarter and more confident than everybody, and that hated me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was a workplace where, everybody was more confident, smarter, and everybody was great.
Sure. I mean, I think that matters. Like that's a real thing. I had a student of mine who was. I taught 12th grade English just a long time ago. I had a student who scored perfect on the SAT.
Oh.
Twice.
Nice.
Like he scored perfect and they made him take it over because they didn't believe it. He did it again. He got into every Ivy League school you can think of, like full ride. He went to Harvard, he lasted the first semester and a half. And he came back and he went to community college, and then he joined the military because he was so used to being at our school in our building, the big fish in the little pond.
Yep.
And when he got somewhere where he wasn't that, he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And again, that happens to people. So it can happen the other way around too. I do think that navigating the importance of who you are, what you like, what you do, and how and when you do it are things that you do learn over time. And for some of us, we learn them much later in life. I've tried to be really good about teaching my kids how to just be who they are. I don't always like my kids the way that they are, but I always respect it. I don't like everything that they like, but I love that they like things that I don't like. And I think that's a thing that we have to learn in order to be comfortable with ourselves, right? We have to be more accepting. I've always been the kind of person that, like, if I didn't like a particular kind of music, I shouldn't say didn't like, but I should say I wasn't into a particular kind of music, my brain has always been like, why do people like that so much? I'm going to go to a concert. And so I would go. And even if I'm not enjoying myself, I love to watch people. So for me, it would just be seeing people get into it, like get into the mode, get into the moment, start dancing, break their light sticks and just go ham. And I'm like, this is dope. You know what I mean? Like, they're having a really good time. I wish I was having as good a time as they are doing what they're doing. And so I think for me, I've always wanted to be a little bit more of a jack of all trades. as opposed to being a master of none, so I like some of everything. I don't like anime as much as Sin does, but I like anime. I don't like wrestling as much as Jokes does, but I like wrestling. I did like wrestling. Who's my favorite wrestler?
Ric Flair.
Woo! You better believe it. There's no two ways about it. I love comics. I love comic books. I love movies. I'm not super into cars, but I know what I like. Like I'm into the way cars look. I'm not into the way cars work. Does that make sense? Is that okay?
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
I like that they go. I don't really need to know how. You understand what I'm saying? Like, is that, like, that's kind of where I am, like, as a person. Like, I'm okay with liking things for the reason I like them. And I think that's important to also understand. So, like, if you love anime, why do you love it? Do you love it because it's different from things that other people like? Do you love it because a particular storyline just caught you and that was what it was? Do you love it because somebody special to you introduced it to you and so you kept that kind of a love? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that drives the thing that you love but also makes you uncomfortable in other settings? You know what I'm saying? I think it's important to figure that out, to think about those kinds of things. As an avid music lover, again, I love all kinds of music. If there's a karaoke, chances are I'll be there. I don't really care what they're singing or what it is. I'm there.
It's all the time.
But why are you laughing?
She needs to see you do
We're
karaoke.
good.
Oh yeah, we can
It's
do that.
happening.
That's easy.
I'm just saying.
Oh, we can do that. We can do that easy. Yeah, like I'm super open to what other people enjoy, and respecting that they enjoy it, while also being very cognizant of sometimes the need to help them understand why it's okay that I like what I like, and not to belittle that. Todd. What's your favorite piece of pop culture content in the entire world? That's tough, right? Can anybody name that? Does anybody just have a favorite piece? Like, I can tell you right now, my favorite thing, pop culture-wise, in the entire world is Spider-Man. That's just it. That's what it is. It's Spider-Man. That's all.
Or
Sorry.
just anime in general.
Just anime.
Yeah, just I watch all kinds of
Cosplay?
Oh yeah.
When did you find cosplay?
I've always wanted to do cosplay. It was one of those things where it was like, you know, you see somebody who put in all the work and it's like combining all my loves. Because I love to paint, I love to craft, you know, I love taking something that is absolutely nothing and then ending up with a product that people go, holy hell, you made that? And you're like, yeah. I did that. That was me. I didn't actually start cosplay. We started it as closet play on Red Valkyrie, which is just my way of saying I don't have a budget because I'm broke.
And that's fair.
So I walked into my closet and said, if I turn this t-shirt inside out and wrap it around, it'll look like a cowl, and it doesn't have to be actually, because you're seeing me from the waist up when I'm streaming. So that's kind of what started it for me, and then it turned into I started dyeing wigs and unstitching wefts and attaching bald caps to partially made wigs and stuff just to try and make something into the vision that I had in my head be realized. And I think the first time that actually happened was only a couple months ago, where something that I wanted to look a certain way did.
Yeah.
And
that was it. That was the turn. Like, it turned.
That was it.
Now
now I'm like, oh, we're gonna do a calendar. I still don't have a budget, but we're gonna figure it out.
Make it work.
We'll make it take a second mortgage. It'll be fine. It's no problem.
Jokes, can you name a favorite thing?
I think it's the collector's piece of things. Like, so for me, like all my fandoms, like just collecting memorabilia, whatever it may be, like wrestling. I have title belts now. Like I make money because I work a job so I can buy these things.
Right. Which is
the amount of Funko Pops, Gundam model kits,
Power Ranger helmet.
Honestly, Power Rangers in general. So Power Rangers figures. I have multiple Dragon Daggers, the Power Sword. Like, if it was like OG Power Rangers, I own it.
You have it.
I got the Morphers. I have the helmet. character. I still have OG 93 Power Ranger figures, Megazords, you name it. Then they released the die-cast stuff. So when they released, here's
You got to go do it again.
Here's a metal Megazord here that you can buy now.
Yeah.
I was the guy that was at Toys R Us, 10 a.m. when they opened. I need that Megazord.
I got to have it right now. Do you have the original Power Rangers Happy Meal toys?
A few.
The full set?
Right. Hey, you know what I do still have?
Guess what I have?
You have? Of course you do. Somewhere.
Guess what I have? I know exactly where they are.
One of my favorite
I'll
things
show them to you. You can't have
I
them.
still have. When I had the costumes like for Halloween, they made the gloves separate, and they had like a little button in them. So when you would move your hand, they make like the swishing sound when you would chop with it. Yeah.
Hey,
Nice.
listen. All right, hold on.
You gotta do that on the show.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Watch this. Tatiana,
Yes.
when was the last time he put those gloves on and made the swish swish sound and tell the truth? I know you know.
That's before me.
Like a week? Oh.
Them Jones
Yeah, I thought we were getting some juice. I thought we was going to get some.
Last night,
Yesterday, as soon as we left MAGFest, he was swishing and chopping. Perfect. Substantial, do you have like a straight up favorite piece of just like a pop culture thing that is just your favorite thing?
I would say right now, I'm a bit of a cinephile, right? Like I love movies, and so I grew up loving
That's another
comic
word
books.
for movie geek, cinephile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now in this day and age where like the technology is finally at a point where we can see these comic book films, these sci-fi films, and they are really able to execute these special effects at a high level.
Yeah.
I would probably say that like comic book films and sci-fi films are probably my favorite thing at the moment.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was probably a mixture of comic books and just collector's cards. Like I collected comic book cards, and I also have a large collection of basketball and football cards too.
Yep. Me too. I definitely did that in high school. Super card
Yeah,
collector.
man. Might be time to cash some of these things in, man. I've been sitting on. I probably got like between 30 to 50 Michael Jordan cards and like Shaquille O'Neal rookie cards. All types of crazy stuff.
Let's do something with that. Let's.
Hey man, look, y'all plug me to the right people, man. Because
Listen, man, if you're not careful, they're just gonna take them all, turn them into NFTs, and then your physical stuff won't be worth anything. Like it'll be like, nah. You gotta... Okay, listen. So we got to get ready to wrap up, and I'm not happy about that. But here's what I need to do before we wrap up. Substantial, I want you to go first. I want you to just let everybody know who you are, what you do, how they can find you, follow you, since unfortunately you're not here to perform this weekend. How do we do that?
Yeah, I'm a part-time stripper and I do hair.
I got an OnlyFans and it's
no. So yeah, as he mentioned, my name is Substantial. I'm an independent hip hop artist, producer, MC, now author. Also a visual artist as well. I'm what I like to call a black of all trades. But yeah, man, I've produced a lot of, I've recorded a lot of songs for video games over the last few years for like PUBG Mobile, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, Arc Knights, and a couple of other titles as well. Yep. And I'm most known for the work I did with a Japanese producer by the name of Nujabes, who did music for Samurai Champloo, which is one of my all-time favorite animes because it mixes anime and hip-hop, son. But anyway, you can find me through my website, iamsubstantial.com, on Twitter. It's also Twitter and TikTok is I Am Substantial, and on Facebook and IG is Substantial Music. Of course, you're not going to remember all that, so you can always just Google Substantial and put either hip hop or rapper with it, and I'll pop up.
Yeah. Hey, listen, he's selling himself a little bit short. Substantial is also an educator.
Yes,
you
educator.
Got a little more going on there, but that's cool. You guys can go.
Yeah, I was trying not to be long-winded. It's, you know what I'm saying? Long in the tooth, B. I've been around the block a few times, so the resume is a couple pages.
That's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Shay, The red.
What's up?
Is that specifically because of your hair?
Yes.
Okay. Just thought I'd check. I just listen.
The hair color that I currently dye my hair. So when I'm out of the military and I dye it whatever color I want, it's no longer going to make sense, but I'll still be shade the red because it's ingrained at this point.
Okay. Talk to the people. Tell them how they can
Alright.
find you, what you do.
So
There's a lot. Y'all get ready.
I am one half of Red Valkyrie. I host a streaming show. Basically, what we're mostly covering is indie comics. We do crowdfunding. We do all that kind of stuff. I cosplay every time I have a show on. So, or closet play, depending on, let's be real. But we do all kinds of stuff. We got D&D streams going. We got artwork streams. We got art auctions. Basically, if you are an indie creator and you are trying to reach an audience, you need to come up and take one of my cards. If you know an indie creator who is trying to reach an audience, come up and take one of my cards. If you ever want to try crowdfunding, for the love of all that is holy, please DM me, because I'm going to cry if people keep on making the same mistakes over and over and over again.
She's very good at helping people get funded.
Thank you.
Very well. Very good at helping people get funded. That is for sure. Okay, so Red Valkyrie.
Yes.
.net.
.net, because
somebody is
stole my
squatting.
.com and then tried to sell it back to me. You know what? And so we're .net out of protest and because that's all that site could get for us.
Those are the
But-
pains we go through. So the crew up. You know what? Sin, you do the rigmarole. You can tell them how to find us.
You can find us everywhere on socials at Loading Snacks. No matter if it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we are everywhere at Loading
TikTok.
Snacks. Yeah, TikTok.
There is a TikTok.
There is a Loading Snacks TikTok.
Jokes, dances.
We're gonna give them to do
Don't
the
you joke.
hand wishing thing, on TikTok. But yes, we have a streaming show every single Tuesday. We talk pop culture and everything. We have more stuff coming in the future.
Yeah.
We also have a Patreon. We can get exclusive stuff there. But yes, come holler at us and check us out.
Yeah. He's not lying. There's a Loading Snacks link tree. If you Google us, you'll find us.
Yes.
There are plenty of ways to do that. What I'd like to do now is thank you all for coming and hanging out with us. Please give them a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming and hanging out with us. For those of you, especially those of you who said you have social anxiety and actually spoke and raised your hand and
Super
participated,
appreciate
that
you all.
is awesome. You're more awesome than you knew. That's not because of us. It's because you already were. So again, I want to thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. There's only one thing I'd like for you to do. If you guys can just kind of squeeze in, we want to take one group picture
Yes.
with everyone so we can get out of here. I got my man's over here with the signs going, wrap it up, B. Wrap it up. We're going to do that. Substantial, thank you, man, for hanging out with us.
Hey, thanks for having me,
I
man.
appreciate you beaming in via satellite. You know what I mean?
Yes,
It's like an
sir.
old school award show. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Let's
man,
get
likewise.
a picture.
Peace, y'all.
Thank you.
Shay, is it wrong if I say, can you hold the camera because you have the longest arm?
I had a feeling.
What I'm gonna do is
I can see the camera. Jeez. Hold up.
That's it. That's it.
Where is he? Here. That's all I got. Ready? 1, 2.
Sweet.